right, so I'm going to do a demo on assignment 1.3, and this is all about polar coordinates and polar tracking. So I'm going to go up in my workbook, back to the section that talks about that. So right here, polar coordinates use a distance and an angle to locate a point. So angles increase in the counterclockwise direction and decrease in the clockwise direction. And we can use either so there's a symbol on your keyboard. If you hold down Shift where the comma is, you're going to get this little symbol right here. So you would type in that and then your angle. You would enter that and then you can put in your distance and enter that. Or you can do the @ sign, the distance, and then the angle sign with the angle value. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to this one, and we will create this right here using the method that I had just mentioned. So here I am in AutoCAD, and actually, let me go ahead and take a snip of this. And I went Control V to paste it in here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and create this box here. I'm going to do it a little bit different this time. I'm going to use my rectangle tool, and I'm going to create the box this way because I know these 2 points. So the first corner, I'm going to specify it at the origin, 0, 0. And then when I'm using the rectangle command, I can go ahead and specify the next one being at 10, 7.75. All right, and so now I have this rectangle right here. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and start this one at 1.5, 3. So I'll go into polyline, and I'm going to start at 1.5, 3. All right, and the first method said to do that angle sign, so I did Shift where the comma is, and now I have that angle symbol. And then I'm going to put in the angle. So the angle for that is 45 degrees. So I'll do 45. And so now my cursor is restricted to a 45-degree angle. And this angle is 45 degrees in the counterclockwise direction. And then the distance for that is 1.4. And then I'll enter that. Okay, so now I just created this line right here. And that looks a little bit too high. Oh, that's because I'm doing it right here when I said I'm starting over here. So my apologies. Let me go ahead and start. I'll start from that same point. So I am right here. So I'm going to do a relative so I'm going to do 1 unit, and it's 0 in the y to get this line here. And then I will do at 0, comma, -1 to get this one here. So I'm using relative coordinates to get these because I know what they are in relation to each other. Okay, so now I'm over here and I already did it that first way. If I do it the relative polar coordinates way, I could do at and then the distance 1.4. Then I could do the angle 45. All right, and that went ahead and drew this line. So both of those methods will actually get the same result. So it depends on how you want to do it really. So I'll go ahead and do the angle sign, And this time I will do, because now I'm here, I'm going to go negative 45 degrees because this is going clockwise 45 degrees. So I'll do negative 45. So now that's restricting my mouse into the negative 45 degree direction. And then I can specify the distance, which is 1.4 because it's the same. All right, and then at 0, comma 1, and then I could do at 1, comma 0, 1, comma 0. And then right here, it's going to be, I can say at 1.4, and then the angle is going to be, so now I'm right here, and the angle relative to this point is going to be 90 degrees plus 45 degrees. So that is going to be 135. There we go. And so now I have this right here. And then I'll go ahead and do it the other way this time. I'm going to do 45, comma, I'm sorry, enter, and then 1.4. All right, and then at negative 1, comma 0, at 0, comma 1, and then the angle here, so right here, this one is going to be, let me see. So if this is my coordinate system, then I can say this is now negative because it's 90 plus 45. So negative 135. So angle negative 135. Enter, and then 1.4 is the distance. There we go. And then this one is going to be, I'll do the angle sign first, 135, and then 1.4. And then at 0, comma, negative 1, and then at negative 1, comma, 0. And then at, once again, this is negative 1.4. So I'm going to say angle, sorry, not negative 1.4, but negative angle, negative 45, and then 1.4, and then escape. And this one is still the same because this line is parallel to this one. So that's the one I mistakenly made earlier, but they end up being the same and it meets up. Okay, and so I went ahead and created that whole thing using my polar coordinates, two different ways. And it can be a little bit confusing to understand polar coordinates at first. If I have a line and I rotate it in the counterclockwise direction, these are going to be the positive angles. So if you see, let me zoom in a little bit. There's an angle right there that says 17 degrees. So these are going to be positive, rotating this way. If I were to go this way, this is going to be relative to this horizontal line. This is going to be negative 51 degrees. All right. And so another way you can create these shapes is with polar tracking. So I'm actually going to create this second shape here, this one right here, with polar tracking. And so polar tracking can be found down here. So I have ortho mode. That's going to restrict my cursor to, so let me go ahead and enter uh, this point really quick. So I'm in my polyline, and then I'm going to start at 7, comma 2.5. All right, so if I'm in ortho mode, that's going to restrict my line and my anything that I make into only the X or Y direction. So even if I'm clicking over here, that's going to create a line that goes way up there. Now, another thing, if you want, you can use this polar tracking. And this polar tracking is very useful for making shapes like this. So this will instead restrict it to certain specific angles. So right now it's at 90, 180, 270, and 360. So that's just like ortho mode because that's 90 degrees is like this. This is 180, 270, and then 360 is the same as 0. And it creates this nice little tracking vector. And you can also do 45 degrees. So when I go to 45 degrees, or around 45 degrees, it's going to create this green tracking vector. And so if I look here at what I'm supposed to draw, these are going to be at 30 and 60 degree angles. So I can restrict it to 30, 60, 90, 120 degree angles. And I know that each one is 1 unit in length. So it says 1.0 TYP. TYP stands for typical. So if it says typical, I know that everything that looks like this around this is going to be 1. Okay, so I started here. Now I'm going to see my green tracking vector until it looks like this. So I'm at a 30-degree angle. I'm going to say 1, and then I'm going to go down. I'm going to say 1. This is going to go straight up. 1 here, 1. I'm just going to do this all the way around. So this is much faster than putting in those angles manually. But it's good to know how to put them in manually because sometimes you won't have nice round angles that you can use this polar tracking with. So 1, and then in this direction, 1 unit. All right, and so now I just created both of those star shapes.